I want to talk about the Bengals' Joe Burrow playoff run because I do think he was statistically worse in the playoffs than in the regular season. And I keep hearing people talk about two different things. Some people say he was, overrated and got carried in that run. Other people saying that he was the one who carried them. There was a lot of really good stuff about Burrow. So I want to talk about just the whole thing of it. This is going to mostly be about the playoff run itself, but we're also going to talk about how it related to his regular season as well. First, we're going to do some numbers real quick, just one chart I have, and then we're going to get into a lot of film from the entire playoff run. So this is the chart. So we're going to compare some regular season numbers to playoff numbers because his playoff numbers did go down. And listen, that's going to happen regardless to some degree, right? That's what you kind of expect, is that the playoff numbers are going to drop a little because you're playing better teams. So it's only natural that your statistics are going to drop a little. But you still do definitely see a drop. So let's just go from, the top column is going to be the regular season numbers, bottom column playoff numbers, and we're just going to go left to right. PR is passer rating. So he led the league in passer rating with 108.3 last year, but in the playoffs it dipped below 100 at 97.3. So there was about exactly an 11-point jump there. Yards per attempt dropped a lot, a full yard per attempt lower in the playoffs than in the regular season. His PFF grade dropped a lot, over 10 points from the best PFF grade in football in terms of passing grade. This is just offensive grade in general, which Brady was actually a little ahead of him in the regular season in terms of just pure offense. But in terms of passing grade, he was number one and still number two in total grade. Falls to 80, which is not a bad grade, but definitely lower. Adjusted completion percentage didn't really change that much. Actually, it went a little up in the playoffs, interestingly enough. You then have turnover-worthy play percentage. That's what TWP is. It was low in both, but he actually did a slightly better job of protecting the football in the postseason. Big-time throw percentage, though, went way down in the playoffs. He did not have those splash plays in the playoffs as he did in the regular season, and that might be the main reason why we saw some of these things drop a little bit. The other notable thing to talk about was ADOT, which is average depth of target. This is a fascinating stat. So what this is, as the name suggests, how far down the field did you throw the ball on average, or did you, target the ball on average? And so you see that for the regular season versus playoffs, there was a big jump. He did not throw the ball that far down the field during the playoffs. And that's probably the biggest difference that I saw from him in the playoffs versus the regular season. There wasn't as many deep shots, which is, that's clearly true, and that's probably why we saw less yards per attempt, a smaller passer rating, and maybe even a smaller PFF grade. He was kind of forced to be more of a game manager type, just given how teams were playing him. Now going over to film, I think that the Tennessee Titans game is a great example of this, actually, because that's kind of a lot of what the Titans just do in general, is they make you, keep things in front of you, and this was his worst playoff game in that run. They still won, but this was his worst playoff game in that run, and there were critiques to be had. The Titans right here, they're playing cover 3 zone, but they play a lot of cover 2 zone, 2, and a lot of quarters. You see how on the field, they're showing us that there's 2 safeties deep. So for the Bengals, what do you do in this situation? Well, you know what Zach Taylor does, and he's going to say, okay, let's throw underneath. Taylor kind of does have that mindset as a head coach. He doesn't love to push the ball down the field, which is why most of the times they did were sort of on broken plays. As you see, Burrow takes the snap, and Burrow is simply just going to hit his tight end underneath, doesn't even make the throw. So that's kind of one of those, it's like, oh man, you're playing, not too difficult of a situation where all you have to do is throw underneath and then you miss a throw. That's not very good. So it's not like he was missing throws left and right, but this is probably why some people in particular really felt like he didn't have an impressive postseason run. And even going over to something like this later on in the game, Burrow did have some, fourth quarter heroics to win them the game, but it was really Jamar Chase's fourth quarter heroics. This is the cover 2 man, and you see Chase's route, and watch what happens. As you see, Jamar Chase is going to just get wide open to the point where, as Burrow is throwing it now, if Burrow doesn't make this throw, just get him off the field, right? This is something that a quarterback just has to make, this type of throw in this situation. And to Burrow's credit, he does. He makes the throw, so we don't give him that much credit for it, but hey, you made the throw. It was really just a great play, though. So, while Burrow made the play, I think the average person is, that's watching the game is going to say, whatever. I'm not going to give him too much credit for that, which is probably somewhat fair, but I still felt like there was plenty of stuff that Burrow did throughout this postseason run that was really good. And maybe, this kind of thing stunted it a little bit, but it's a small sample size. You're going up against good competition, and he still showed why he was PFF's highest rated passer in the regular season. Like, let's go over to something like this. Remember this play? This was the famous, or infamous if you want to call it, whistle play, where there would be, this play actually probably shouldn't have counted, but it also had no impact on the actual play itself, which is why things are weird. But anyways, watch what's going to happen on this play. So Joe Burrow takes a snap and doesn't like what he sees, so he's going to scramble out, and he gets outside the pocket, and look at how far he goes over. At this point, I've paused it right here. We are talking nearly 7 seconds into the play. Typically, if a play lasts more than 2.5 seconds, if someone gets open, you say, I can't blame the wide receiver. There was just too much time. And at this point, you totally can't blame the defense, because look at how far covered everyone is. There's still nobody open. The fact that Joe Burrow even makes this throw is surprising. But Burrow does throw it, and they get a touchdown here. Now, again, there was an inadvertent whistle. Worth mentioning, the whistle was in the air, so by rule, it actually should have been called back. But it also, I don't think, affected the play at all. It seemed like the only reason why other players stopped playing was because they, weren't going to get there regardless. It's an impressive play by Burrow, even if you're of the opinion it shouldn't have counted. That's fair, but it did count, and that was a huge thing that helped them in this game. In the AFC Championship game, there was a lot of that. Burrow made a lot happen in this AFC Championship game, and they don't win it without his playmaking ability. Something like this is a great example, where it's going to be a cover 2 man play, and you see the receiver he wants to throw to, running a deep route. It can be kind of a tough play to get open against this type of coverage, just because there is the safety help deep. And watch how right when this play begins, Burrow does look in that direction. It's not open, and now Burrow is in trouble. I mean, you see good defense. Burrow can't make that throw, and there's pressure now right in his face. So for a replacement level quarterback, this is probably a sack, and that's the end of the play, which is certainly not very good. But Burrow just had a knack for turning bad plays into good plays. As you see, watch him get out of this pressure, and then he's going to run over and find an open receiver who was admittedly wide open, but and that's Jamar Chase. So yeah, sure, Chase was wide open, but he found him due to his playmaking ability, whereas an average quarterback does not get open there. And that was a huge way that they were able to beat Kansas City, and a huge way they were able to go to the Super Bowl was because Burrow did stuff like this in, the wild card round against the Raiders and in the championship round against the Chiefs. This one was another one. This was a key third down late in the game where they really needed to get a first down. And what did Joe Burrow do? It wasn't necessarily him making this impressive throw, which is kind of what we like to praise guys for. As you see, Burrow takes a snap, nothing is really open, so he simply just, finds a hole and runs through it and picks up the first down. And he had a couple of those. So sure, what do we like to see more? What's more fun to watch from a quarterback? Making a great throw, and our receiver makes a good catch because it was a perfect throw right in between a window. Yeah, that's kind of the stuff that we typically I feel like just aesthetically it looks better. But at the same time, if you're getting the first down, you're getting the first down, and Burrow just found ways to get first downs, on third downs. And a lot of times he was on third down because they ran the ball on first and second, and now it's third down and 8, and he has to make something happen, and he did a good job of that. Going over to the Super Bowl, even the Super Bowl, he had some really impressive plays. Again, I did not really see much throughout that Super Bowl of Joe Burrow making bad plays, like guys being open and him not hitting it. And if anything, it was kind of the other way around. Remember this play? This is the Jamar Chase birding Jalen Ramsey on cover 3 zone. But what's kind of interesting about this, I had sort of forgotten that in my memory, it was like Jamar Chase just burned Ramsey. That's not really what happened. Look at how right when this play begins, you see how, so Chase is going to get to the outside of Ramsey. At this point, you don't really know what's going to happen. You don't know if Chase is going to get open. And also, this is where chemistry comes in a little bit of Jamar Chase is, he's still trying to get around Ramsey. So if Ramsey can bump him a little bit, maybe that Burrow isn't able to make this throw just because the timing is off. But Burrow makes this throw anyway. He knows about where Chase is going to be. And look at that throw. I mean, if that's a foot in any direction, I don't think that's a completion. That's an incredible throw, and it's a highlight reel level throw. We don't pay attention to Burrow because it's Jamar Chase making a great catch, which that was also true, but it was still an impressive throw on top of that. Both things can be true. So Joe Burrow definitely had not as good of a postseason than a regular season. He was also in his second year playing his first postseason run. Most guys do typically struggle in their first postseason run. But to those saying, well, Burrow was only there because of his receivers and because of his defense, listen, a defense can't really carry you to the Super Bowl the way it could 10 years ago. That just doesn't really happen. Okay, maybe you can find a scenario where it can kind of happen. I guess maybe San Francisco comes to mind, but they still had a good offense that year. You're going to need, I'm not saying that the defense didn't play a role. It absolutely did. But you're going to need some good offense, and part of why the receivers looked good was also because of Burrow. It goes both ways. The receivers make Burrow look better, but Burrow makes the receivers look better. So I think the Joe Burrow is overrated narrative is nonsense. I think that he is underrated, if anything. He's a fantastic player, and even when he maybe took a step back in the playoffs, still did so much well to help his football team. That's how I view it. And even his numbers that are down in the playoffs are still really good numbers, especially when you factor on their postseason numbers, and he has to deal with Zach Taylor. So that's what I think. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.